Hey guys, it has been a minute. I know it's been long. It's been long. It not be too long, but it's been long because I miss you. You miss me. You know that kind of vibe. New mother of four. So I've been. The past few weeks have been. It has been a lot. It has been joyful. It has been stressful because taking care of a newborn. It's the joys are there, the highs are there, the lows are there. So I am all soaking up. I am soaking up all the moments, and I'm enjoying all the scrunchies and the stretches and the twistings of the baby. I don't know if I'm the only one because till tomorrow, that anytime I see a baby, whether mine or another person's baby, stretch or scrunch, it makes me it makes me shout my ovaries. Um, but anyways, so new mother of four here. As I said, that is going to be my new intro. Okay, so anyway, I am back, and I believe back for good. So and is actually back a little bit, but bear with me. You may be hearing sounds here and there. It is the baby because the baby has to be beside me. You know, yeah. So today I'm going to be discussing a topic that is can be dicey. So it's basically about conflict within the family. And a while back, I made a post, or I asked a question. I made a post asking a question. Let me not jam up my words here. I made a post asking a question, and the question happened to be, when there's a conflict between you and your sibling, would you prefer to solve that conflict when you also have a conflict with your husband? So it's like conflict between husband and wife, or conflict between siblings. Which would you solve first? So conflict with your spouse and conflict with your sibling, which would you solve first? So in plenty words, I guess I'm straightforward. So without further ado, let's just dive right in. But before we dive into it, before we start diving, have you subscribed? Have you? If you've not subscribed, please hit the notification bell to get notifications out. Sorry, hit the subscribe button. You subscribe first. Hit the subscribe button, that red button that says subscribe with the white font. Yeah, so hit that red button that says subscribe to subscribe, and then the bell button that comes up after to get notifications whenever I post new videos. My father will say whenever I release new videos. So whenever I release new video, so that you'll be the first to know. So let's jump right into the comments, because the comments, like many of them gave me joy. I want to jump right into the comments. I may be making my own comments here and there, but this video is going to be basically focused on what you, my people, have said that you will do. Because it's not only me that is going to be talking on this channel, it's going to be all of us. All of us go chook mouth for matter. So let me start. Here, this person says, my spouse, so because iwe one adịghị eru n'ọkpụkpụ, sibling can wait. So basically, what this person meant by saying iwe one adịghị eru n'ọkpụkpụ is that when your sibling is angry with you, it is not too deep. Even though I know that there are some things that will happen that are deep, but human beings. But generally, when a sibling is angry with the other sibling, it doesn't cut too deep. It's something that can be easily rectified. So another person said, conflict with my spouse. Another person said conflict because that's my new spouse, because that's my new family. And I like the way this person put it, because many times we go into marriage and we forget that we have left where we were, and we are in a new covenant. Marriage is a covenant. The way I see marriage is, I see marriage as starting a new empire. So whether you're a man or you're a woman, you marry your spouse, your wife as a man, or your husband as a woman, because we don't do all that woman marry woman, man marry man here. I don't we don't do that here. So once you get married, you are starting a new empire. Does not mean that you've totally forgotten where you're coming from. but you must always bear in mind that this new place that you are, and this new empire that you started, is the priority. So I like the aspects from which this person is coming from. The person says spouse because that's my new family, not just new, but the family that takes top priority. Because the Bible says, forsake father and mother and cleave. So you have to cleave. You have to live to cleave. Then somebody else said my siblings without any explanation as to why. So yeah. Then another person says conflict with my spouse. Let there be peace in my home first. I will handle my siblings later. So because at the end of the day, this is where you are now. You cannot just let me get, if you keep looking back without looking for or looking at where you are, you may be having problems, because you have to, first of all, you as a person have to first of all be at peace to be able to create peace. So if your environment is tensed, because once you're married, you're supposed to be living with your spouse, right? So imagine being in that kind of a tense environment and you want to go and create peace somewhere. It is almost impossible. I won't say impossible totally, but it is almost impossible. So I like what the person said, that the person said, let there be peace in my home first. So it's good that this person recognizes that this is my home first. The other place that's my parents' home. It's not my home. It's my home in retrospect. But generally, this is my top priority. This marriage is my top priority. Then another person says, my spouse comes first. Then I will use the peace and calmness from my marriage to settle with my siblings. Just exactly what you just said now. This person says, which it's possible to do the two at the same time, but I will resolve with my husband first. Sometimes we want everything to be working together, but many times in life things don't work like that. So we have to be, that is the reason why there's something called priority. So you have to set your priorities and know which comes first and which comes second. What am I supposed to be doing now? There are some things that are not priority, but then it's like what we used to say, doing the right thing at the wrong time. So yeah, that's it. This person says my spouse comes first, then we've gone through that before. The other person says spouse, because siblings can't stay angry at each other. um i I appreciate the person wanting to settle the conflict with the spouse first, but the second part of the comment that said siblings can't stay angry at each other, I beg to differ, because I have seen, that is the reason why you have seen sometimes you see the kind of sibling rivalry that you'll be like, but these people grew up together. They ate from the same plate. They ate from the same pot. The same parents raised them. How do they hate each other this much? So the reason why we think like this sometimes is because whenever it has to do with people that we are that we are there with us from the day ones, our day ones, especially our siblings. We always tend to like put them back, and they'll be fine. But many times they are not really fine. So it is important that you also learn to settle things with siblings, because sweeping things under the rug is going to help nobody. So you settle with your husband or your wife, please make sure you settle with your wife, with your siblings, because you also want that relationship to also flourish. You are not only focusing on this new empire that you are building, you also have to know that one way or another, that empire that you came from, so pardon me, I'll be using the word empire a lot in this video, because that's the analogy that we started with. That empire or that country, that family actually, that you came from, one way or another will have an impact on this new one that you are starting. So it is very important that you don't sweep things under the rug, because you don't want to compound things for yourself and for your spouse. Because whether you like it or not, your relationship with your siblings, with your mother, with your father, with your sisters, with your brother, has a way of affecting your marriage. Makes sense? Does not mean that, oh, the family dictates what happened in the marriage. No, it doesn't mean that. But having that tense environment. And there's nothing like community, and these are the people that make up our community. So let me use myself as an example. I just gave birth, and in the past few weeks, I've had my sister with me. Even with my mother being around, I have had my sister with me, and it's been very helpful. I have a community around me. So imagine that I am not at peace with this my sister. The help that I get from her, I will not be getting. So that is why it is important. You don't want to say that you've arrived. Then nobody has arrived at anywhere. At every stage of your life, you need community, and the best community that you would have is the community that started with you, and these are your siblings, your parents. Sometimes it may not be the case. Sometimes it may not happen, but generally, that's the ideal. So another person says, okay, so another person says, I think spouse first because that will give you peace of mind, love, and encouragement to face the conflict with your siblings. And that is actually true, especially if you marry a good person. Emphasis on a good and a kind person, because anybody that wants to keep you away from your family, I doubt that person being good or being kind, because if someone loves you, really loves you, the person wants you to have peace. The person wants you to be at peace with your siblings, wants you to be at peace with your parents. So when you settle with your husband or when you settle with your wife, and that person gives you encouragement, can even give you another perspective, because sometimes when we are dealing with family, we are seeing from one perspective. Sometimes it will take someone from outside to look in and say, I think this is where this thing is going wrong. I think this is the reason why this friction is happening. Because I use this analogy for my sister at one point that we were discussing, and as we are sitting down at one spot of the room, as we were discussing, I asked her if she could see her back. She said no. And I told her, I myself, I can't even see what's going on behind me. But somebody that is looking in from outside would see what is going on behind her and behind me. And on the other part of the room that we could not see. And that person can be able to give perspective to whatever conflict we may be having. And that's what happens. So that is the reason why it's good to marry a kind person, because that a kind person and a wise person, because that person will now look from the outside, to see that this is the reason why this is happening. So I think this is the way you should approach it. And then you approach it like that, and boom, matter solved forever. So it is important. So another person says, as the heart leads, um, it's the whole as the heart leads conversation is okay, but it is always right to direct your heart where you want it to go. You know, because sometimes see this thing we call heart is actually emotions. It is actually emotions that we call whenever we say as the heart leads. It is our emotion that we are referring to as the heart. So it is you that will steer your emotions where you want it to go. My father will always say that emotions are bad leaders but very good followers. So your emotions are very valid, but they are not always true. Always remember that. So the whole as the heart leads, which in translation many times means as the emotions leads, is not always the right notion. So let's always check when we make statements. Let's check where it is coming from. Then another person says, depending on the type of conflict, honestly, with a partner sometimes, then sometimes with the siblings. I think I understand where this person is coming from, because let's assume that the conflict with the partner, or I don't really like to say partner, but spouse. Let's assume the conflict with the spouse is one that has led to separation. You would obviously settle the conflict with your sibling, because that is easier. You know, anything, whatever case that leads to a couple separating is not something that is just you solve by a phone call. If it has led to a separation, it will need serious counseling and deliberations and prayer and all to always come back together. And I am always a believer of any marriage can work, no matter what water has gone under the bridge. Any marriage can work if the two people in the marriage are willing to work on it. That's actually a by the side discussion. Then another person said with siblings. Someone said spouse, you wake up next to him every day. Our points, not just my point. Everybody that has spoken so far, our points exactly. Somebody said my siblings, because I've known them since they were born, so I will know how to handle the conflict. Wonderful. I also understand where this person is coming from, because yeah, you are talking from a place of um experience. You have had more experiences with this person than you have had with this person called your spouse. So it depends. I think it depends on the magnitude of the conflict. I think it depends on the magnitude of the conflict. And then the conflict can be a new thing that you may not necessarily know how to navigate. So I just believe that wisdom is profitable to direct. Someone else said siblings to help me with the energy I need to resolve conflict with. I don't know the energy that you will need to resolve conflict with your spouse that will come from your siblings. But okay, that will also mean that you have level-headed siblings, because some siblings head they hot. If they hot. So that also shows that you probably do have level-headed siblings. Then another one says, since all of them are important, I will resolve them in the it's like calling family meeting. Everybody come, let's resolve the matter together at once. Very funny. Somebody says, conflict with my spouse first before my siblings, since my spouse is now my new family. Someone has said that before. Everybody's saying that. So someone says conflict with spouse as it affects daily life, intimacy, shared responsibilities. True. And when we talk about intimacy, it's not even just intimacy with your spouse. It's also intimacy with the Holy Spirit, because whether you like it or not, see, conflict with spouse it may 1 or 2 days or 1 or 2 hours affect that is the reason why it is important to be very careful when choosing who to marry, because it affects every area of your life. It can affect your spiritual life. So, but that depends. I don't know the magnitude that it will come to, but it does. It may affect it. So, person said with spouse, because this is the person you share environment with as of now. It is important. Then another person says, with my siblings, the other side will be resolved in the other room. Um, as funny as it is, not all matters are resolved in the other room. If you don't know what the other room means, I don't know. I don't know how to help you. I believe all of us know what the other room means. According to a former president of Nigeria, he says the other room. So, not all conflicts are resolved with the other room activities. Some conflict will need that the two people will sit down. This is what you did to me. This is how it made me feel. This is how I am feeling as of now. Then the other party will be like, this is the reason why I did what I did. This is all that. Maybe apologize when apology needs to come up, and come to a place of compromise. Because so when we resolve all our issues with the other room activities, we may tend to sweep under the rug some cases or issues that we need to tackle, and then at the end of the day, it will come to a point where there's resentment, because sometimes as it is building, you don't know that it is building. No matter how small a conflict is, it is important to resolve it. Communicate. That is why communication, whenever you hear advice about marriage, one thing that must be there is communication. That is why that communication is important. Another person says, doesn't really matter which one comes first. Resolving conflict with sibling is always hard. And I think this will now depend on the kind of conflict we are talking about. It depends on the kind of conflict you're talking about, on the personality that you are dealing with. So yeah. um a lot of people were saying they were going to they would resolve with their spouse. And there were a lot of comments, and I think I want to end here because the video is already getting longer than I want it to be, because this is supposed to be a reaction, not reaction, but more of reading out the comments, reading out your comments. um I may one day have a sit down to discuss this with my husband, if the time permits. If it does not permit, I may have to do it by myself. But anyway, I believe that with the comments that we've read and the ones that have been made, that we've come to a place of understanding. But one thing I want us to take away from this video, if nothing else, is that that we should always remember that the person that we have married is our new family. It's the family that takes the top priority. Other people are important, but this is more important. Other families are important, but this is more important. So whenever you are doing whatever it is you are doing, always remember that your relationship with your spouse is more important. In fact, more important than your relationship with your children, because that's another mistake that we make. Once we start giving birth, is my children, my children, my children, my children, and then we forget the spouse, and then we forget that these children, they go live tomorrow, because you said you were a child in your parents' house and you have left. I used to always tell people now that my parents are now like newlyweds because everybody now come out. Even the last one is in school. So you understand, you see, it comes to a point where the children will leave. So that relationship that will stay with you, so as it ideally, that will stay with you from the time of marriage to ideally the time of death, you want to nurture it. You want to make it a very flourishing one, because this is the person that is supposed to be your companion. This is the person that you are going to live in your old age with. So that it will not be smart thing you don't carry back go omogo when we say you go there omogo 6 months waiting you they do, because you are running from the emptiness. So we should always remember that a day will come that will be empty nesters. And being empty nester does not mean that the house is empty. The house can still be full of love, even though we are empty nesters. So always bear that in mind in whatever it is that you're doing. And I believe that we have learned one or two, and I'll be seeing you guys in my other videos with that. And if you've not subscribed, and done plenty, if you have not subscribed, what exactly are you waiting for? Adi should sing. I think that's another video. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notifications whenever I post new videos. I will see you guys later. Bye.